There are a lot of people out there renovating, but before you renovate, are you thinking about resale? We got some advice for you, some good advice coming up. Plus, we have a question about outlets for a new home buyer, new construction. We're going to be talking about where and yeah, just where, where and how to install your outlets. Plus, we have a California town that is making a comeback, and it's not what you think. We'll explain on our news desk. This, plus more, all coming up on the Home Pros Radio Show.
The Home Pros Radio Show. Brought to you by Prime Lending. Home loans made simple. Welcome to the Home Pros Radio Show, the premier resource for the well-informed homeowner. With over 30 years of combined home inspection and renovation experience, your hosts, Tommy Donovan and Shane Hips, help you stay on top of your home improvement and home maintenance needs. Visit homeprosradio.com to access the trusted product and service providers that are a part of our Home Pros network. Find the Home Pros Radio Show on Facebook and Twitter for regular show updates and additional information on the topics covered on our show. To join the conversation, call 248-HOME-PROS. And now, your Home Pros, Tommy Donovan and Shane Hips.
And welcome to the Home Pros Radio Show. I'm Tommy Donovan with RIC Home Inspections.
And I'm Shane Hips with Closing Contractor.
Broadcasting from the Prime Lending Studio. We're glad to have you with us for yet another week of home talk. We're talking house here. This is your source for the advice, tips, and tricks that every homeowner needs to make sure your home is in the best shape possible. We have a question from a homeowner who has a brand new home, and he's wondering if it's in the shape that it was supposed to be in. It's kind of a code question we're going to be talking about in a little bit.
Yeah.
In regard to outlets. Plus, we've got some interesting find. We have another. We always talk about animal invasions. We have an insect invasion we're going to talk about here coming up on our news desk.
At least we finally got away from the bear.
Got away from the bears. I've seen wolves. I saw a couple of raccoons this week.
Okay.
Alligators have been happening all summer, but it happens so much. I'm tired of it. Alligators aren't cute. That's why I like to cover the bears. Bears are usually funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Bears.
There was one that I saw where a bear broke into a house and stole a cake.
Oh, yeah. That's nice of him.
Yeah, so it's just funny stuff.
Was it a birthday cake?
It was.
I'm sure they were real excited when they realized that the cake was gone.
No. And what else we have? Oh, we have another very explosive find, or potentially explosive find in a house. It's one of those things that every home inspector wonders if they'll ever come across. We'll be covering that later. But first, a topic that's I think this crosses our desks every once in a while. Of course, we're talking about we've been spreading a lot of bad news about the real estate market over the past few weeks. Get tired of talking about it. And, how about the real estate market slowing down, this and that? And a lot of people who are living in homes are actually considering renovations as opposed to, if they're feeling tight in their homes and they need more space, renovations as opposed to finding a new house. I guess financially it makes more sense. You've got one that you might be taking on here.
Yeah, well, I looked at one
before the show.
I looked at one earlier today that was it would be a very substantial renovation and addition, but I mean it'd be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean it's one I would hope to get to do. But I thought it's going to be it's an old house. It's over 100 years old. It has the two different ceilings. It has the original ceiling and then where it was framed down, because of heat reasons and all that. And they're wanting to take the ceilings up and add to the back, and it'd be a good one. It'd be a great one with like before and after pictures or videos.
Oh, I bet
it's gonna be if we get it, I'm gonna make sure to document it, every bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah,
it's one of those. It's one of those that's in such a good location.
Yes.
That if you spend a couple $100,000 to renovate,
you go get it back.
You're gonna get it back.
Yeah, you're gonna get it back.
Why not?
It's a good location, a good growing area that the price isn't gonna drop right there where it is. So but it's like you were talking about renovations, there's always smart moves and not smart moves. I mean, anytime. I mean, this one I think they're pretty safe with whatever, as long as they don't just do something just silly.
And that has to do with the location of the home. It's not
right.
Subdivision where you have to kind of match the style and the size of
Right.
everything else in the neighborhood.
Right,
It's
right.
kind of an urban area that
Mhm,
you can be
mhm.
flexible with it.
Right, and but it's always a good idea, to look at the thing, and I always mention ROI, return on investment. I always mention that when somebody's talking about it in renovating their house because it's like, what are you gonna get back out of it? What are you not gonna get back out of it? How long you gonna be here? Are you gonna have enough time to even enjoy it if you're not getting the money back out of it before you sell the house? Because you don't want to sink a lot of money into a house that you're about to sell anyway
Mhm.
if it's something that's not gonna increase the value of it.
Mhm.
So, I mean, but that's always a good it's always a good topic.
Another thing you don't wanna do is you don't wanna put things in a home that you're not gonna see the value for in the long run. Like, if
Yeah.
you let's say, you might be a big fan of High but if you put a High court on the back of the house,
I
it's
don't
gonna
even know what highlight is. Is that the
I
thing
was
that
trying to find a
is that
str
the thing where they throw the thing
Yeah.
against the wall and it can't hit but one wall or something?
Yeah, something like that. They bet on it in Florida. It's just one of those sports that, you know that's what I'm saying. I was trying to think of something rare.
I was like, okay, highlight. First, I didn't know if we were tightrope walking at first. I thought you were talking about high line or something.
Oh, I gotcha.
I was like, okay, highlight.
Yeah, if you do something like that, I mean, here's my point. Most people are like, "What
I
is this?"
I wouldn't be
They're not
interested
gonna
in your
buy the
highlight
house
for it.
because
Yeah,
they're like, "What is this for?"
yeah.
So, but yeah.
Or if
So
they do
those are
buy the house, you're not gonna get your money back that you sunk into that highlight court.
that's the point.
Mhm.
Exactly. So, what I have is a list of items that, generally speaking, this is all coming to you from Closing Contractor, by the way. Do we have? Oh, we
Y
probably need to refresh your, either skip ahead or refresh your slideshow before we get into that segment of the show. There we, there we go. Risky home amenities. We have a
Okay.
list here. Things that you might add to your house that you might want to second guess if you're going to see that money again. Of course, if you're in a home that you're going to be in, I guess two factors kind of nullify all this. If this is a home
I
that
I I see the D word coming up a lot today.
Oh yeah, well, let me go ahead and say it. It depends. If this is a home that you're gonna be staying in, there's a lot of times folks will call what's the real the populars? It's my forever home.
Yeah, forever.
If
Mhm.
you're gonna be there forever and you're gonna use it and get the usage out of it, fine. Or if you just have so much money, it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
some of the houses that we like to cover on our news desk,
Mhm.
go ahead. And in fact, some of the homes that we've covered have some of these amenities in it. But
Absolutely.
for the average homeowner, some of this stuff not such a great idea. And the first one I want to mention here on our list, this is um, recommended. Is pickleball, right?
Yeah.
Pickleball court.
Hey.
Yeah. I actually one of the ones I did want to mention is swimming pools. That's a
Yes.
popular one that everyone is like, one of the rules of thumb is that, hey, if you're gonna buy a home and you want to, or if you want a house with a swimming pool, buy a house that already has a pool in the
Right.
backyard.
Right. Right.
Don't build one unless you're gonna be there for a while, because
Yes.
like a pickleball court, you're just gonna spend tens of thousands of dollars. And I
Mhm.
had no idea a pickleball court would be 20 grand,
Well, I
but
mean, yeah,
it adds up.
I could see how it
But
adds
that's
pretty quick.
it's a very popular pastime nowadays. It's pickleball. We
Yeah.
could go out and just play.
I'm all in.
I'm seeing it like when I pull into neighborhoods now.
Yeah.
One of the things I like to look at is, how many neighborhoods do you pull in and it was built with tennis courts and
But
no one ever uses
now
them.
it's got took
Now they all
pickleball.
have divided the courts up into like
I
pickleball.
haven't really paid any attention to it, but I guess I do need to look into that because um I guess I'm deciding to play pickleball, so I need to know where I can go to play.
So this article, I hope you know what? I forget where the source is. The source of this article is from I think it's realtor.com.
Mhm.
So home amenities that will hurt your resale value. In addition to things like swimming. Oh gosh, there's a house near my sister's home.
Yeah.
They have built on the back of this house. It's not just a pool. It's like a lazy river and this huge water slide with rocks and everything.
Oh god.
And there's a basketball court adjacent to it. It's ridiculous. It's super cool, but at the same time, it's like, is that necessary? Somebody's being summoned.
Do
Yeah.
they have a lot of kids or do they just like to
I have
entertain a lot?
no idea. They basically have taken the entire lot and paved it. I don't think they have any grass.
Well, you can't do that no more.
Oh, that you were just talking about that,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, we were talking about like lot coverage
Lot
chart.
runoff.
Yeah,
There are
because of the water
codes
runoff
about
and
that.
stuff. Yeah, in certain areas they're more strict about that kind of stuff. Because obviously your neighbor down below you, whatever neighbor is lower than you is going to get all your rain. Nothing's going to go in your soil. So, but yeah.
That could create a headache. So, maybe he's got it all sloped to his pool. Who knows? So, and in this particular case, the first on this list from this article from Realtor.com, pickleball. Installing a pickleball court costs $20,000. One of the realtors actually that was consulted on this article is from Greenville. Damian Hall, will give him credit. Damian Hall with Blackstone Christie's International Realty. Here in Greenville, South Carolina, says that pickleball is too specific a sport, kind of like highlight. That's why I was thinking of highlight. He said he had a listing with a pickleball court, and it drew weak interest. It wasn't really a selling factor.
Right.
You could actually, hey,
it's got a
pickleball court. So
gotcha.
So it has little impact on offers. Next one would be home chapels. I don't see.
I don't know that I've ever seen a home chapel.
As I kind of put in the screen behind us, it could be any price depending on how much you want to invest in.
Yeah, how big of a chapel you want?
I don't think I've ever seen one in a home doing inspections. But Kerry Washington from First United Realty in California says the value is personal. Usually something as personal as a chapel. It won't pass on to the next owner.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's like someone that what do they always say? These people are emotionally attached.
Yes.
It's like someone being emotionally attached to a house because it's been in their family for 100 years, but the person buying it doesn't see any value in it's been in your family for 100 years.
So if this addition or if this whatever this feature that you're adding to your house, here are two rules of thumb here based on if you want to get broader with this is if it's too specific or if it's too personal and it's not going to pass on to this next owner, maybe you want to hold off on that specific renovation or addition. Here's the next one. Ready? Talk about specific bowling alleys. How many homes have we covered?
Oh yeah,
on the news desk
that
have had bowling alleys in them. We're looking at a cost of about $120,000 or more,
and that's for one lane.
Oh man, yeah, right. Tony Mariotti in Los Angeles, he's a realtor from Ruby Home. He says bowling alleys are just rarely used. I think of just even smaller addition or I guess features that people add to their home that are rarely used. One of the ones that pops in my head is the spa tub.
Yeah,
the jacuzzi tub.
Yes.
I mean, how many times there was so many times I've gone to test it in the seller stand and they're going, you can test it, it works, and we never use it.
And how much gook have you seen come out of the jet
out of those things? Because they don't, because they are rarely used. Speaking of water features is the next item on the list. Tony Mariotti from Ruby Home in Los Angeles, he says he's seen a lot of water features. He says, quote, one pool in Beverly Hills had jets that shot streams of water out of them. I guess kind of like Bellagio in Las Vegas. Another had jets that had blue and green lights blinking to outdoor music. You could actually, that would be kind of cool. That'd be fun.
It'd be cool like once or twice. I don't think you would do that every night.
It's true.
Yeah.
So LED lights could cost about $800 to $1,200 each, and you get water jets that are about $1,000 a piece. Probably that just adds up.
Yeah,
it gets expensive. So water features again. I think this would fall under the category of too specific.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, gift wrapping rooms. I've seen these on occasion. I've actually seen a couple of these.
Yeah.
And usually in high-end homes.
Right.
And how many gifts?
How many gifts you give a year?
You need a gift wrapping room for that. So I found that one interesting too.
Or I mean, let's say it's a gift wrapping room at Christmas. What is it the rest of the year?
Yeah.
I guess this actually stays a gift wrapping room all year long.
Yeah. Maybe if you're going to double up as an arts and crafts room or a podcasting room or something.
Yeah.
But again, too specific of a task to create. So this falls under too specific.
We're going to call it a flex space.
Yeah. So, and then finally, a dog wash, another specific use type of item.
Yeah.
This is probably the dog wash, I would say, is probably the most transferable of these features.
I would think so because you could use it if it's off your mud room. You might have kids that like to go ATVing all the time. Yeah. I mean, When I was little, I had to stay outside the house several times because I'd gotten in some mud while I was out riding motorcycles and three-wheelers, whatever.
Fun.
Then I come back and everybody just sort of think, "Oh God, I'm about to get killed." But I got to ring doorbell. I got to knock on the door, and then them just come out and look at me. But then, of course, I'd have to go hose off in the water hose outside and freeze while I'm doing that before I could go.
Nice to have a dog wash.
Yeah, a dog wash.
Kid wash.
I would have been happy with a dog wash at that point.
Yeah, I've seen it where I've seen homes where, like, there's one home that was owned by a plumber who he had built a shower into his garage.
Yeah.
So as you pulled in, he could wash and then go inside.
Yeah.
So, I mean, things like that do have their use. Cost about $1,000, can soar up to $3,500 depending on how fancy your dog wash or wash area is.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things, and this is why I'm saying that this is probably of all these features the most transferable.
Yeah.
Realtor.com says 90% of, even though this is maybe on the not recommended list, it does say that 95% of homeowners still consider their dogs when trying to make a home buying decision. So I'm sure, obviously, people think about yards and things like that when it comes to their dogs.
Right.
So a dog wash might actually be a little bit of a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
But these are probably the least popular, including a highlight cord that you might want to add to your house.
Yeah, definitely don't have the highlight cord.
So we're going to take a quick break right now. When we come back, we got a question from a homeowner who's bought a new construction house and has an outlet question. It's a very interesting one. I figured it'd be worth covering. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to knock out that question on the Home Pros Radio Show.
If you're a home service provider who takes pride in your work and strives to be recognized as a trustworthy professional in your industry, the Home Pros Radio Show wants to hear from you.
Become a Home Pros Radio Show partner. Send us an email at ask@homeprosradio.com.
Your Home Pros Radio Show Expo listing and your featured appearances on our podcast are just the beginning when it comes to the ways that we can help brand your business on the Home Pros Radio Show.
It's a great opportunity. It's just an email away. Ask@homeprosradio.com.
One of the Home Pros Radio Show partners that makes this show possible is Carolina Heating Service. We'd like to invite you to give them a call. They are a near you company. And you know, when your heating and air system breaks down, it usually happens right when you need it, does it not?
Oh, yeah. It's always the worst times.
And that's why Carolina Heating Service came up with the Carolina Comfort Club, where there are two ways to be a member. You have the Comfort Plan and the Comfort Plus Plan. Whichever plan you have, they'll come out to your house at least a couple times a year and make sure everything's running right. You know, at the start of the heating season, at the start of the cooling season, to make sure that you're not hit with any of those inconvenient situations that could pop up with your heating and air system. So give them a call. Here's the number. It's 800-261-0359. You can also find them online at carolinaheating.com. It's Carolina Heating Service. They're a near you company. Thank you for watching the Home Pros Radio Show. And, of course, our show is brought to you from the studios of Prime Lending. It's our Prime Lending studio, right?
Yeah, they're the big title sponsor.
Yeah, and all of this talk about building and maintaining your home doesn't mean much if you don't have the funding to make it happen. And that's why we like to invite you to call Prime Lending. They got offices all around the country for you. But if you're right here in the South Carolina area, give Mark Hawkins a call. Here's his number. It's 864-349-0160. You know, when it comes to getting the funding you need, Prime Lending makes the process easy and personal. Websites and 800 numbers, man, they can lend you money, but are they going to sit down with you face-to-face and actually give you the products that you need? Because there's so many options.
There's something to be said to be face-to-face with someone instead of just talking to them on the phone or emails or whatever. Yeah, something to be said for that.
Absolutely. So give Prime Lending a call if you're remodeling your home, you're purchasing your dream home, or just need a cash out refinance. That's another option that they can help you out with and sit down with you face to face. 864-349-0160. If you're in the upstate South Carolina or South Carolina area, period, give Mark Hawkins a call. And wherever you are in the country, there's a Prime Lending office near you. Of course, with Prime Lending, buying and refinancing your home is simple, fast,
and hassle-free.
That's it.
And welcome back to the Home Pros Radio Show. I'm Tommy Donovan with RIC Home Inspections, and I find stuff.
And I'm Shane Hips with Closing Contractor, and I fix stuff.
Oh, yeah, and I got to tell you, there's something that I found in a house just recently, and I found it quite interesting. It's our photo from the field this week.
What are you looking at? I know what I'm doing.
Did you see that?
When I got to this light switch, switch,
like
switch plate, switches, I didn't know what to do.
Yeah. I wouldn't know what to start flipping there.
I was like, do I have to figure this out? I asked the buyer. I was like, do I really? So your light switches are like electrical panels. It's like I have a disclaimer in my reports, right, where every report's a boilerplate that just basically says we do not verify the accuracy of the labeling of this electrical panel. Same thing with switches, because that's a lot. Those are a lot of light. I wonder what the inside of that wall looks like with all the wiring.
There's wires going all over the place. Has to be. That'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to. I'm really surprised there's not labels on the switches.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I lived there, I have a hard time with 2-gang switches. Like which one? Like if it's in the hall or whatever, I'm like, okay. This morning I got crossed up. Actually, it's two-gang switch boxes next to each other. But I was wondering how in the world I did what I did, and it's like, and that's 4 switches. This is 9.
Yeah, that is a lot.
Like,
the other thing that I like the point that you brought up when you first saw this picture earlier, you were like, and I hadn't even thought about it until you brought it up. You're the electrician in you. You were like, where did they find a switch plate?
9-gang switch plate.
Yeah, 9.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if you special order them or what. I mean, because it got to where you could get gangable plastic plates, where you click them together, make whatever.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, they actually make those now where you can click them together, but then people don't like the look of them because it's not as clean as, just one solid. But this 9-gang plate, I mean, and I'm sure they could only get it in metal. I'm sure they wouldn't make this in plastic because it would never get sold. I mean, it was just something never be used. But yeah, they definitely had to special order this plate for this.
That's crazy. So luckily I didn't have to figure it all out.
And what's the box? Oh, I guess I know.
What does the box look like?
The box is going to be a gangable box. It's going to be, if they're
expandable somehow, or
there's metal boxes where you can, just like I just said with the plate, there's metal boxes where you can keep adding and adding and adding. But right here, it's almost like they would have had to cut a stud out to be able to, header it off to be able to get all this. But then they drill through it. I don't know what that looks like. I'd like to open up the wall just to see what they did.
See how many fire hazards.
I want to see I want to see by doing it what else they messed up. You know how we always show how the plumbers and HVAC people cut the floor joist?
The wiring works.
I would like to see what this looks like behind that drywall.
That's a good question. Be a good question. Well, speaking of questions, we have this question from one of our listeners.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Yeah, this is from Mark and Greer. He has a question about outlets. Does a room 6 feet by 6 feet require at least one outlet? That's a good question because it's easy to assume that there must be a code for like a room size. You have to have at least one light or one outlet or whatever. He says, I have a new construction home that I just purchased that has a small room that is this size. After moving in, I've learned that my neighbors who have the same floor plan have an outlet in this room, and so does the model home. Is it possible that the outlet has been drywalled over? I would say, yeah, there probably is.
It's always possible.
That possibility.
Generally, and this is just me from an electrical background, unless that receptacle is the last one on that circuit, when you have a receptacle that is covered, you have other things not working. So
Oh,
because
that's a
they're
good
daisy
point.
chained to the next
Yeah,
one, unless that receptacle only had one wire in it, which is possible if it's a 6x6 room. Because is it a 6x6 closet? Is it a six? I mean, what kind of room is it? If it's a closet, you don't have to have a receptacle in it.
Yeah.
Different things. It depends. I knew it was
It's
gonna come out
the
in it. It is determined by what
Yeah.
kind of room it is, and there's different factors that play into this. But it could just have the one wire, and it could be covered up.
Mhm.
But yeah, a lot of times, when we were checking out houses after we hung all the lights and everything, and we would find like 3 or 4 receptacles not working, we would generally know it's somewhere between there and the last receptacle working. There's something covered up.
Okay.
And I mean, if he wants to check, all he's got to do. I mean, and this is completely aside from where we're going. But if he puts a straight edge on the wall in the location where he thinks it is, it will rock, because
Because if there's a box put there.
a box comes out past the stud about a quarter of an inch, maybe a little more, quarter of an inch. So because the box comes out even with where the drywall comes out. So you got the thickness of the drywall. It doesn't come out all the way, but close to it. So if they put the drywall on it and don't cut the box out, there's going to be a hump on that wall. It's not something you can always see with the naked eye, but if you put a straight edge on it and rock,
Or even look at it with a flashlight, you can probably see.
you can find where it is.
Question.
Then, because we also got a lot of practice in that, because we didn't want to tear up the drywall. So we were nice to the drywallers, although they completely covered our box. We would find the box first and poke a hole so we don't cut a big hole to find the receptacle. But you
work from the
rock it
inside
this
out.
way and then rock it the other way, you can pinpoint the middle of the box.
Oh, okay.
But when you stick the screwdriver through there to find the box and all, keep in mind
It might be live.
There could be a hot wire in there. It could arc on you. I've had that happen too. So,
Oh, wow.
hey, or the drywall saw.
Yeah.
Because you think you got a sharp saw, you're sitting there cutting it out. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
Might help if you knew what
part of the
circuit it could
business.
be on. Oh, God, yeah. I remember there was a dude who was wiring a box, and it was a live box. He was in there just connecting everything. I'm like, and he's got his voltage meter in his mouth. He's just doing his thing, and I'm like, dude, that box is live. And he goes, it only stings for a minute. It's like, okay,
Hey,
you know what
have
you're
it your
doing.
way.
I know, you're the professional. Wow. So, but yeah, so the question is, so that's a good tip as far as if there is an outlet box that's drywalled over, look for that bulge in the wall.
Yeah.
That could be an indication.
And if he's seen it in his neighbor, if he has seen it in his neighbor's house and the model home, and if it's in the same location in both of those houses, I would check that exact same location in his house.
Yeah.
Because it could be in that vicinity.
That's a very good point. So yeah, well, the question here that I figured would be worth answering is, or what are the outlets required? Because he's asking, does a room 6 by 6 feet require at least one outlet? There really isn't a code as far as the size of the room.
Correct.
There's no code that says if an outlet, because I know that like there are certain codes that are like if you have an attic space
Yes.
that is bigger than 3 cubic feet, it has to have an access door.
Correct.
So you can get in there and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
But as far as outlets, it's mainly the requirements as far as interior living space are outlet requirements are dictated by the wall space.
Correct. Inhabitable rooms.
Yes.
So
So that'd be like a dining room and living room. And
Mhm.
so that's the other thing is, does this 6 by 6 room, is it considered
is the-
a habitable room?
What is the room? So yeah, you have different.
Wow, that's tricky.
There's
isn't
a lot of stuff comes into it. So, it's always a good idea to put a receptacle there, but I mean, whether they had to or not, it's going to be determined by what the room is and all
And
that.
then what the local code folks are enforcing.
Correct.
It gets
Because we
tricky
know
like
that changes too. So
Yeah.
just I almost said it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it.
All right.
Okay,
So
we'll go on.
what are some of those code requirements? Well, the first one is 12 feet of linear wall space.
Mm-hmm.
Every 12 feet of linear wall space, you want an outlet.
Yes.
Now, that doesn't mean that if you have one wall that's 12 feet, I'm trying to think of how I could explain this. 12 feet, and you put an outlet in the middle, and then you got another, well, I should probably say 15. Let's say you have a wall that's 15 feet and you have an outlet. Then you have another wall that's 20 feet.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to need 3 outlets, even though it's only 2 walls. Because you want 1 outlet every 12 feet of wall space. That includes going around corners.
Yeah.
So you should never at any point have an outlet that is 12 feet from another outlet, even if you turn a corner or go around an interior living space. The idea meaning that typically your cords that are on devices, cords on lamps and things like that are going to be around 6 feet.
Yeah, you should never need a cord longer than 6 feet.
Yeah.
No matter what. No matter where, if it's close to a wall.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it's sitting right in the middle of the room, yeah, you got a little different situation there.
Because I know older homes, I'd say probably before the 1960s,
Mm-hmm.
they would build a room and they would go outlet on each wall.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're that lucky. Sometimes it's just an outlet
one in the room
on the facing walls.
Yeah.
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 So now those codes have been adjusted. So you should have an outlet every 6 feet, every 12
Every
feet.
12 linear feet. When we were, this goes back to when I was wiring houses, but we would literally take 3 steps, because that way it makes them every 9 linear feet. Take 3 steps, drop a box. 3 steps, drop a box. And that way we're at so if, let's say we happen to take a real big step, our steps weren't going to be 4 feet. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's, just a rule of thumb. It has to be at least every 12 linear feet, but you go 9 feet, you got it covered,
Mm-hmm. There's also a rule as far as the size of the wall. If you have a wall that is greater than 2 feet,
Mm-hmm.
it is required to have an outlet. That's for like, let's say especially with these open floor plans, let's say you have a living room and you had to drop a pier, or not a pier, but you had to frame out a wall in order to transfer the load from the attic down to the foundation.
Right.
And you couldn't work around it. And you have this wall.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll have really small, like pillar type. If it's bigger than a pier or a pillar, I guess you could say. But if it's a wall that is at least 2 feet in linear space, there's a chance that somebody's going to put a table there or want to plug something in there. So
Yeah. And see,
that size requirement.
and if you're just going off of what the notes say and not what kind of room it is, that right there would say it has to have one on every wall. And we know that a 6x6 room doesn't have to have 4 receptacles in it.
Yes.
You see what I mean? So yeah, the whatever the room does play a big part in this.
Yes. Very good point. So yeah, there's like a check down.
Yeah.
I don't know how electricians do it sometimes. And then there's this other rule that I figured would be worth adding is if you have a hallway that's greater than 10 feet,
Mm-hmm.
then it requires an outlet.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there are plenty of older homes that have hallways, don't have any. But nowadays, I had always wondered what made that determination. Sometimes you'd see a hallway with 2 outlets, sometimes with 1. And so.
A lot of times that's a judgment thing too. I mean, just the electrician or the builder or whoever,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's always a good idea just to step back and look at it and think, okay, this is how this space will be used, rather than just trying to stick to exactly what you got to do. Well, they could easily need something right here. But it plays the same thing in the 6x6 room. I mean, if it was designed to be a office, like say a place with just a desk, it absolutely should have some receptacles in it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a closet, it doesn't necessarily have to.
Mm-hmm.
So
there you go. Some of those guidelines to look at your own home and just determine, is everything where it's supposed to be? And hopefully, Mark, that's the suggestion from Shane. Look for that bulge in the wall that could indicate that you have a hidden outlet. That might be your answer right there. So thanks for the question. If you have a question for the Home Pros, shoot us an email, ask@homeprosradio.com. You can also give us a call on our Home Pros Radio Show phone line or hotline. What's that number?
it is 248-466-3776.
So thanks again, Mark, for the question. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's time to visit the Home Pros Radio Show news desk.
Thanks for watching the Home Pros Radio Show. You know, Shane and I would love to know what you think of the show, so we'd like to invite you to leave us a review.
At the Home Pros Radio Show, it's our goal to keep homeowners entertained, inspired, and informed. So let us know how we're doing.
Your review helps us ensure that we're including the content you want to hear and that we're reaching out to more homeowners just like you.
So click on that review button and tell us what you think.
Your relationship with your home is an emotional one. Your home provides a sense of pride for you and your family. Through ongoing training, past experience, and current technology, RIC Home Inspections can provide you with the most reliable and accurate information available so you can enjoy the rewards of your home ownership. Call RIC Home Inspections at 235-5505 or visit us online at richomeinspections.com. That's 235-5505. RIC Home Inspections. Love where you live.
The Home Pros Radio Show is brought to you in part by Screen Mobile of the Piedmont. Established in 1982, Screen Mobile National has been around that long, and they're the nation's largest screen installation and repair company. They offer many different options for windows, screens, whether it's a corporate location or even a home residential location. They can bring their mobile units out to you and repair your screens, replace them, or even create a whole outdoor environment that you can use to keep the bugs out with their screens.
I've always been impressed with the tent one, the one that keeps your siding from melting, or your neighbor's siding from melting.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's saying tint with an I. They help cool things down. Yeah, for those of you who are not
from South Carolina.
Exactly, and that'll protect some of your outdoor building products like your siding from melting. That's a good point. I never
it's
even
not
thought
always
about
a
that.
grill. It can be a window.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So give Screen Mobile a call. There's a Screen Mobile in your area. You can visit them online at screenmobile.com. If you're in the upstate of South Carolina, call Screen Mobile of the Piedmont, 864-641-7476. And welcome back to the Home Pros Radio Show. I'm Tommy Donovan with RIC Home Inspections.
And I'm Shane Hips with Closing Contractor.
And it's time for us to take our weekly visit to our Home Pros Radio Show News Desk.
Oh! Yeah. I didn't know we added that. It's not Halloween
I got to
yet.
work on my aim.
We're still in September right now.
I guess there are that many people afraid of our news desk out there. Sorry, folks. Didn't mean to scare you. All right. So we got our first. Okay. There are a lot of stories. We've been talking in the past week or so. We've been digging on California, making fun of California with their power outages and their droughts.
Their ideas.
And, we got an interesting story for you folks out there in California. A cool little town named Kernville is resurfacing. And it's not or I should say resurfacing is probably the most accurate way to put it. I was kind of teasing at the show open that is making a comeback, but it's not quite what you think. Old Kernerville, it's a California town that served as the backdrop for many films featuring the likes of John Wayne, Gene Autry, Hopalong Cassidy, is coming back. The town was once completely underwater.
Okay.
So here's a photo that we have for those of you watching watching us on YouTube and on Facebook Live. You see an old photo of the town. Mm-hmm. And it used to be a thriving community, previously named Whiskey Flat due to a saloon of the same name. The town sprung up toward the end of the gold rush in 1860. It sits in the hills of Lake Isabella and the Kern River. Well, it was about the turn of the century it became a hot spot for movies that were set in the Wild Wild West. Whiskey Flat loosely inspired some of Clint Eastwood's quick-drawing characters in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, The Unforgiven. The town also served as a backdrop for John Ford's Oscar-winning film Stagecoach. Well, after World War II, the military took control of the land around it in order to build a dam on the Kern River, which created a reservoir and it ended up flooding the entire town. So everyone had to take all their stuff and leave.
I got you.
Yes. So here's what we're dealing with. Of course, we've been hearing a lot about the prolonged drought situation in California. Well, the water is drained away and the town is coming back.
Oh.
So we have actually a photo. It's kind of interesting of what's left of the foundations
Yeah.
that were underwater. It's kind of fascinating.
It's pretty neat. So all the wood rotted away, but all the
Yeah, you got the stone
stone
steps
still
here
there.
of a building, and I guess the
That would
stem
be
walls.
that would be neat to go in and build it back on top of those existing.
It would be cool.
That'd be pretty neat.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's making a comeback, if you will. So it dried up the reservoir. It's now being reduced to as little as 8% of its original capacity. The lake is. The foundations of what used to be Kernville, as you can see, Kernville, are now seen for the first time in almost 100 years. That's pretty cool. Now, there are other lakes that are dealing with this. We've heard about, let's see, we've got Lake Powell in Utah is another man-made reservoir that's experienced a dry period. There have been discoveries like a large shipwreck sitting completely out of water. We have that in the next slide.
Oh,
people are now pulling their boats up to it to take photos, as you can see behind us. So those of you who are watching our feed. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Lake Mead, we've mentioned on the show before, is somewhat infamous for the discoveries people have found on the edges of the, we hear people talk about the bathtub ring around Lake Mead as the water has dropped over the years. And I don't know if we've mentioned it on the show, but there have been stories recently where dead bodies have been found.
Oh, okay.
That have surfaced because the water has dropped.
Oh my gosh. No, I haven't heard.
Yeah, I don't think we've
about
covered those stories. I've read them and I've seen the stories, but like there was a one body that was found that was inside of a like an oil drum. That obviously the dude was murdered, stuffed in this drum, and then thrown in the lake.
Right.
And they actually dated the body to the 1970s based on what he was wearing, because you could see the remnants of the shoes.
Wonder if there's still any DNA that can be gotten from that if it's been sitting underwater that long. Because you know those people think they've
gotten away with everything.
They're free. They think they're free and clear.
Yeah.
I just heard, I think it was yesterday, they a man who was killed in they brought bodies up from ships, or I think he might have been in the submarine, but they got DNA from it to positively
identify who he was.
Yeah,
I remember hearing that story.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can see that part. I'm talking about the DNA of the murderer, the person that put him in the barrel.
Yeah.
It's like, I wonder if it's, because you would think you could definitely get the DNA from the person because you got their parts there. But the other person is what I'm wondering.
That's a good
whoever
question.
decided he needed to go in a barrel.
Yeah. Other findings include a similar shipwreck, a B-29 Superfortress airplane, a lost Native American city. We have just near us Lake Kiwi that has a city, a Cherokee city down underneath that's submerged. A lot of folks scuba dive down to the bottom there. St. Thomas, Nevada, that's where that is. Yet another ghost town founded by Mormons in 1865 served as a major point of interest along the Arrowhead Trail between Salt Lake City and Los Angeles. That's St. Thomas, Nevada. So, yeah, some interesting things to check out there. Hopefully, we can find a solution. I don't know what that solution would be to conserve the water in those areas, but that's one of the things that California is dealing with.
It's definitely not a simple solution like not using water for like an hour or two.
I know. We were talking last week about turn everything off from 4 to 9 in your home for electricity and all that. I don't know. There's got to be a better solution.
Yeah.
So what else we have on our news desk? What's the next one? I'm not sure. I think my cards are out of order here. So
there we go. We got to it.
Oh, here's one. This one's interesting. Speaking of World War II, police in Illinois said a bomb squad was summoned to a home when residents contacted authorities about an old war relic, quote, that may have been a grenade. It looks like a grenade to me.
It may have been a grenade.
Serious? It may have been. All right. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, you don't know what. I'll explain. There's a photo of a grenade behind us. That's what was included with this story.
A war relic that may have been a grenade.
I don't know. Kind of looks like a nuclear bomb.
That's what everybody, the CYA we live in. That's what it's got.
You can tell a home inspector wrote this story.
The CYA world that we live in now, you have to call that something that
may be a grenade.
Yeah, right.
I'd say that's a grenade.
The village of Westchester said in a Facebook post that police were summoned to a home where residents were reporting an old war relic may have been. Okay, that's repeated. You can tell I haven't proofread this story. A photo released by police shows what appears to be the grenade. Appears. Police said the suspected explosive was removed from the scene. It was unclear how the object got there. I want more. I want more from this story. Like, who found it? Where was it? Was it? I mean, how do you just all of a sudden find something like this in your home? Were you renovating?
Yeah. It had. Yeah. You wouldn't think it was laying in the middle of the floor the whole time.
Yeah. Look what I found.
Yeah.
The cat brought it in. I don't know. All right. Next one. Oh, this one's interesting. And this is, I think, happening. I think this is probably happening to a number of homes across the country right now because of the time of year it is. Bee experts said a large swarm of insects caught on camera gathering around a Florida's family's porch likely are just passing through.
They don't look like they're passing through.
I know, right? We have a photo of the porch light behind us, and it is swarmed, literally. The Cape Coral family captured a photo when the swarm made up of thousands of bees gathered on the wall of their front porch. That's the photo you see behind us. Billy Gunnels, who studies animal behavior at Florida Gulf Coast University, said the bees were likely just making a brief stop while searching for a new home.
That's a lot of bees to make a
brief. Just hanging out.
I completely understand and believe him that they were making a brief stop. But if I was that homeowner, I would think that my house is about to be taken over by some bees.
That's right.
That's a lot.
Well, Gunnell says what these bees are doing is that they're splitting one of their colonies into two colonies.
Okay.
So this is a temporary hangout till they find their forever home. He said the bees appear to be on the hunt for the new home and moved. They actually moved shortly after this photo was taken. They didn't last long.
Okay.
It's interesting.
So when this colony split, I mean, I know we're a home show. We're not a bee show. Yeah. But I mean, what happens? Does one of the female bees decide she wants to be a queen now and she's going to start her own stuff? I mean, I guess that's how that happens.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand how it's a colony's going to split. He said it like it's common, so I just didn't know,
Yeah, how do they decide who to follow and who's the queen now?
Yeah.
Very interesting question. If y'all have any answers to that question, we'd love to share it. Give us a call on our hotline. Here's the number.
It's 248-466-3776.
Or you can shoot us an email at ask@homeprosradio.com. So that's going to wrap things up. That's our last story on our news desk.
It is.
Actually, this is kind of, we're only a week from, October. We're going to have to bring in some ghost stories.
Yeah, maybe we can go ghost hunting.
Yes.
Okay, Adam, if you're watching this,
that's right.
Get in touch with us.
Absolutely. So, it's time to cover what we learned on the show today. I have some notes here. We learned about what Shane learned about. Well, Shane knew what it was, but I mentioned adding a highlight court. So, we learned that making an obscure reference, highlight always works.
Yeah.
When you're renovating a home, you're trying to decide whether or not to add something or if you're going to get the money back on it. Stay away from things that are of one of two categories. One of those is an item that's too specific. If you're a fan of horses, maybe you don't want to build a horse barn in the backyard because that might not transfer to the new owner. Although, yeah.
I think that one would be okay.
That might be transferable.
I think so. You could do other stuff with the horse barn.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a horse barn. I ain't got no horses.
There you go. Like okay, fine. All right. Stay away from something then that's too personal.
There you go.
Like a chapel.
Yeah, like a chapel, yes.
Yeah. If you have an outlet that you suspect might be covered up by your builder or drywall, look for the bulge in the wall. You can use, like you said, a straight edge or even like just a flashlight. See if you can visually see a bulge in the wall. That might be indicating that you have an electrical box that's hiding. As far as electrical boxes, you want them every 12 feet of linear wall space. If you're working on a house and adding some outlets, if you're trying to decide if you need more, that's the rule of thumb right now as far as code's concerned. One of the things that's kind of a neat little trick. What is it, Shane?
What's that?
to make sure that you're every 12 feet.
Oh, just take 3 or 4 steps. I mean,
you should have an outlet. Take 3 steps. Should be another outlet.
Yeah. Somewhere close. Take 3 big steps or 4 regular steps. You should have them. You can basically walk around your whole house doing that.
Oh, that's interesting. So, that way you got a good electrician. And also, if you have a wall that is 2 feet or more, you're required to have an outlet there. And if you have a hallway that's 10 feet or more, you want an outlet there. And that's pretty much, those are the requirements as far as the code and your outlets.
It's completely different in kitchens, though. So
that's a whole other thing.
I don't want everybody to reach out to us about kitchens because
these are interior living spaces.
Yes,
habitable living spaces.
Yes,
very good point. I'm glad you brought that up because there is a difference. All right, so that's what we learned on the show today. Next week on the show, here's our photo from the field. I have a tease for you. Just brought you. Is it there? There it is. I'm going to put this photo out there on the internet.
Yep.
On our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all those places. Tell me what's wrong. Where's the red flag that you should see in this room just by looking at this photo? So take a look at it. Let us know what you think, and we'll discuss it next week on the Home Pros Radio Show. Thanks for watching with us. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Hey, make sure you like, follow, and share at all those places that we are located. That's Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. And make sure you subscribe to our podcast. We can continue connecting with you. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next week on the Home Pros Radio Show.
Thank you for listening to the Home Pros Radio Show. If you have a question for the Home Pros, visit us online at homeprosradio.com, where you can also catch our podcast episodes and learn more about the topics and guests we bring to you each week. The Home Pros Radio Show is made possible by Prime Lending, RIC Home Inspections, Closing Contractor, Radon Recon, and Carolina Heating Service. If you are a trusted service provider in our area and would like to contribute to the show, send us a message through our Contact Us page at homeprosradio.com. Once again, thanks for listening to the Home Pros Radio Show.